Hello, welcome to the Cyborg here at the StarCityGames.com Season 3 Invitational in Atlanta, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside select side rider, wrestling enthusiast, and player of many Planeswalkers.
Oh yeah.
Chris Lansdell, how you doing, sir?
Good, I'm having a ton of fun, obviously. I'm having double the fun I was having in Standard.
Yes. You chose to play Deploy the Gatewatch here in Modern.
Yeah, that's a factual statement.
Now what makes one do that?
So, there's a guy back at my local gaming store, Midgard Gaming, shout out, who plays Deploy the Gatewatch in Standard with about 21, 22 Planeswalkers. He has a collection of Planeswalkers. He calls it Deploy the Binder. It's really ridiculous. I figured, you know, I don't want to do that in Standard because I want to try and win games. But in Modern, there are silly things you can do with certain 5-mana enchantments that are double as good as you can get in Standard.
Right.
Twice as good. So
Twice
I figured,
as nice.
twice as nice. So I figured, you know, it's not hard to ramp in Modern. We got Birds of Paradise, Sylvan Caryatid, Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl. This is known stuff. If we can ramp to 6 mana and cast Deploy the Gatewatch, there's not many decks in Modern that can beat 2 Planeswalkers on turn 4-ish.
Yes.
But there's more.
All right, so we've gone over the mana department. We have Arbor Elf, Birds of Paradise, Utopia Sprawl, all this stuff. Even Oath of Nissa, which allows you to cast your spells through stuff like Blood Moon.
Yeah, Oath of Nissa, it's a tutor, it beats Blood Moon, and in this deck, it just finds whatever the toolbox Planeswalker is I need at the time. There's one in particular that is good in multiple situations, which also actually is my win con. So,
all right. Now, the linchpins to the deck, Doubling Season and Deploy the Gatewatch here, let you get the ball rolling, so to speak. And then it's just whatever you want to do at that point.
Basically.
How many Planeswalkers do you want to put in your deck?
All of them.
How many do you have in your deck, and what's the percentages on the deploy here?
So we are at 18 Planeswalkers, which gives you on a deploy somewhere around a 72% chance of hitting 2, not taking into account duplicates.
Sure.
I do have 2 different Chandras, 2 different Tamios, 2 different Nissas, so you're losing a little bit of value, but quite frankly, it's not a problem.
Right.
The thing about Doubling Season is when I land it, I can land it as early as turn 2 on a just the best draw.
Sure.
Turn 3 is fairly reasonable. If I untap with Doubling Season, I can cast Jace Architect of Thought, I can cast Tameo, Field Researcher, I can cast Ugin, and I'm probably not losing the game from there. They ultimate straight away, Jace just fetches another Jace and whatever their best card is, and then I just keep going, and then my last fetch is an Emrakul, or a Tameo, and whatever their best card is, and from there, if I lose, I probably deserve to.
Sure.
Ral Zarek can just ult and give me 3-4 extra turns. Ugin is going to ult, draw me 7 cards, gain me 7 life, and then put 7 permanents into play, which are probably Planeswalkers.
Probably a lot of Planeswalkers.
Probably. Also, you can ultimate Chandra, Torture, Defiance, and then just everything you cast is a Lava Axe. Nahiri ults and gets Emrakul, and then just wipes their board. So, also, Tameo the Moonsage ults, and you basically then could just keep ulting Planeswalkers. I did win one game by using Jace to repeatedly ult and take every non-land spell out of his deck. I'm not a nice person sometimes.
That seems, I feel like the player probably would have conceded a few cards in, but...
He was done. I think he wanted to see how I was winning the game until he realized all he had left to draw was lands.
Yeah, till he had no way to win the game.
Yeah.
So how does one go about picking the Planeswalkers when you have almost every Planeswalker at your disposal?
So what I
Jace the Mind
wanted...
Sculptor not included, of course.
I wanted and this is some of the ones that were in the Commander product only. I wanted a balance of stuff that makes tokens. So we have Nissa Voice of Zendikar and Xenagos the Reveler. Not only do they keep me alive early against stuff like Burn or Infect, they can also, with Doubling Season out, get a really big army really fast.
Sure.
Xenagos particular with his plus, with Oath of Nissa, that mana can be anything. And you can make a lot of mana in a hurry. Nissa, the ultimate is good because you're drawing a bunch of cards, but she is mainly there to keep me alive.
Right.
And
this
she
is
comes
Modern.
out in turn 2.
You have to stay alive
in
some way.
You can win turn 4, and so that's normally fine. Gideon is another really good one to stay alive because you drop him, you go to 8, and then that's a fog, at least 1 turn.
Sure.
The Nahiri, so the rest of it is just really stuff that wins the game. So Nahiri, Jace, Tameo, I wanted those to win. The second Nissa Vital Force is there to get back a Doubling Season, or just to make untap with Utopia Sprawl. If you have 2 or 3 of them on a land, you untap it, you can make a whole bunch of mana again. So, and Chandra Flamecaller, I did win a game today by going Doubling Season plus Chandra attack you for 12.
Seems all right. It's a lot of damage out of nowhere.
Straight out of nowhere. I've also beaten Blood Moon with this deck, which would seem impossible, but actually isn't.
Yeah, you got a bunch of mana creatures and Oath of Nissa.
The thing is with Blood Moon, it's normally followed by Anger of the Gods, so you can't really rely on the mana creatures. You're pretty much relying on Utopia Sprawl and Oath of Nissa at that point.
But you got a couple Planeswalkers out there. What's Anger of the Gods?
They're pretty good. They're pretty good cards, yeah.
One thing, the modern decks that aren't really equipped to deal with are Planeswalkers. So once you land 1 or 2, you're just going to run away with the game, even if it's like a fair game.
Yeah, so I have won a game today without Doubling Season, just by going Planeswalker after Planeswalker. And the only thing he had to answer them was 2 O-Rings. So he used 1 on a Doubling Season. What are you going to do?
Going to have a bad time.
Exactly.
All right, so when you don't have enough room in your main deck for Planeswalkers, you have more in the sideboard.
I do.
We have a who's who of Karn, Nicol Bolas, Elspeth Sun's Champion, and Ajani Mentor of Heroes.
Yes, and they all have specific uses.
All right.
So Ajani is great against burn. Doubling Season, play Ajani, gain 100
life.
Scoop face. Elspeth Sun's Champion, making 6 tokens at once, really good. And the ultimate can just turn your mana creatures into threats.
Sure.
Nicol Bolas it's ridiculous in grindy games. Karn is my answer to Blood Moon.
Acceptable.
So is technically Nicol Bolas, but if I can cast Nicol Bolas, I don't care about Blood Moon anyway. Sure. Yeah. Karn, I can always cast under Blood Moon, so.
All right. And then you have like some real modern cards, I guess, so to speak, for the rest of the sideboard. Rest in Peace, Leyline, Worship, these things we expect to see. But then you also have Idyllic Tutor and Mark of Asylum.
So Mark of Asylum sees a fair amount of play in stuff like White Green Hate Bears, Soul Sisters, just as a way to counteract things like Pyroclasm and Anger of the Gods, which can be really bad for me. Worship and Leyline obviously really good against burn, especially with Sylvan Caryatid. Rest in Peace. The Idyllic Tutor is in there because I need to find these things sometimes, right? It can find Doubling Season, but it can also find if I need one of these pieces to stay alive. It's basically the draw of that card, whatever I need at the time.
Okay. So it looks well equipped to handle a lot of the fair decks.
Yeah.
Seems unfair decks could be a little tough.
So the way I like to look at Modern is any man with a turn 4 kill has a fighting chance.
Sure.
Because unless they are drawing their hate, you can just beat them before they beat you. Infect is rough because of Inkmoth Nexus. I can normally stay alive on the ground, especially since most of them aren't running Rancor anymore. Mm-hmm. You can just continuously stream chump blockers. Blighted Agent can be a problem. Okay. Burn, I need my sideboard. But it's winnable. Yeah. Stuff like Ad Nauseam, you're racing, basically. They can't really interact with you.
Sure.
So if you get going, they really need to go off, and it's not always possible.
All right, last question. What Planeswalker did you want that you can't get in here?
Oh, there's a couple. Sarkhan Unbroken is one I really want. It draws cards, it makes mana, it creates tokens. The thing is, you're never using the ultimate because there's no dragons in the deck. Right. Unfortunately, I can't fetch Ugin. Very sad.
Right.
Fix it.
Flavor fail.
Come on. I had Sorin Grim Nemesis in here. It was my only black card in the main deck. It draws cards. The ultimate is just ridiculous. It's another Ajani Burns, never beating it because of all the lifelink. But it wasn't worth adding the black mana to the deck just to make that weaker. Nicol Bolas in the board is only coming in games where I know my color fixing is going to be fine. So I don't have to worry about that in those matchups. But having Sorin in the main deck turned out to be more dangerous than anything else. Those are the two I really wanted.
All right.
And of course, we'd love Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Right. But who wouldn't?
Yeah.
All right, well, the deck looks awesome. I know Todd Stevens has been messing around with the deck on stream, so if you're interested in this kind of thing, it's a good place to start. For Chris, you can check him out on the SCG newsletter this month, so feel free to check that out. Thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Thanks, Nick.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Atlanta.